was a 5K,
Mhm.
and I remember being so nervous.
What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Run podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today, this is episode 13, and we have Julie here today. How are you doing today, Julie?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Once again, I appreciate you taking the invite here with us today. And it's been a little bit of a time crunch. I know you're a busy gal over there running like crazy, and your kids and whatnot. But I appreciate you accepting the invite. But
I'm
let's
so
start from the
excited.
beginning here. How
Okay.
how how did you start running, Julie? Tell us a little bit about yourself more than anything.
Yeah, okay. I am a spin instructor of 7 years. And so I met my best friend, Melissa Biddick, in a spin class. And I remember I became really good friends with her, and I remember watching just her life. She had just run um a Boston marathon, and I just thought, like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This girl is incredible, and she really inspired me. And we became best friends. And then she she talked me into entering my first race in July of 2021. So it was
Okay.
shortly after I had my second baby, and it was a 5K,
Mhm.
and I remember being so nervous. um, I was extremely nervous, and somehow I guess I used those nerves to fuel my race, and
Uh-huh.
I actually ended up getting first place in my age group,
Wow.
which was really cool. It was a really great surprise. But I remember leaving that race, and I just something had sparked inside of me, and I realized, oh my gosh, like I really love running. So before that, I had exercised a lot, and again, I was a spin instructor,
Mhm.
so um I ran every now and then, but it wasn't anything consistent. And so that was a huge moment for me, because I realized that, one, I loved running, but also that I could have kids and, be a mom and
Yeah.
be a wife and still have big, big dreams.
Yeah.
So I went home that day, and I wrote on a sticky note. I wrote, that's still hanging on my mirror to this day. I
Mhm.
wrote Boston, and then underneath it, I wrote the month July 2021, and I hung
Mhm.
that on my mirror. And mind you, I had only ever raced a
A
5K.
5K, exactly.
And so I put that sticky on my mirror, and it was like the rest was history. I just started diving into training and how to train, and yeah, so that's how it kind of all started. My best friend, she was like, let's race this 5K, and it sparked something inside of me, and I found my love of running through that, and the community. Really, I remember that day, everyone was so encouraging.
Mhm.
um and a funny story is that race was actually put on by Running Alliance Sports.
Okay.
And so I'm actually an ambassador for them now.
Oh, wow.
And
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. It's a great, great community of people.
Yeah.
And I realized that really quick. So it was history after that.
Oh, wow. And did your friend ever think that, inviting you to this 5K, you would actually finish first place? And you finished in your age group, you said, right? First place?
First place in my age group.
Did
Hmm.
she ever think like the invitation would lead to you, first of all, being an avid runner, but for second, like if I honestly, if I would invite a friend that I know is a non-runner, I would probably expect him, he's probably gonna do decent, because it's his
Uh-huh.
first time running. I mean, did your friend ever think, man, like she's gonna finish first in her age group? Like that's crazy.
I don't I don't know. I really don't. I'm not sure if she thought like she was gonna reel me in with this race, or if she was just like wanting a friend to, race with
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really glad that she invited me, and yeah, it was really a really cool experience.
When you told me that you ran, well, when you were saying right now that you were running the 5K, I in my mind was thinking, I'm pretty sure she's gonna say like she hated it or she did really bad because most if you think about it, like my first 5K, I did horrible. I
Yeah,
I I probably walked half of the time, you know, and to hear that you did so great, it's I'm not saying it's uncommon, but it's not very common either, when it's the first time you're running on a
for
race,
sure.
and do you remember your time? What was your time that you got?
Oh, it was right under 30 minutes.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
right under 30 minutes. So, and I had trained like I was big into like strength training,
Mhm.
and I think at that time I taught 6 or 7 spin classes a week.
Oh wow.
So the fitness was somewhat there,
Yeah.
but I definitely did not expect to do that well. So
Yeah.
I think that was a big part of it too, was just like feeling that adrenaline and
Hmm.
finishing and thinking like, oh my goodness, I can do this. I can do even bigger things, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
So it lit that fire for sure.
Oh yeah, no, and for me when I ran that first 5K, it was the one here in Houston, the Minute Maid 5K. Um,
Oh yeah.
I did that in 2019, I think. Uh,
Okay.
2018, 19. My mind's not the best. And for me, the reason what really got me into racing or running was the medals. Um, I got a medal and I was one of those ignorant people. So I met my fiance, which she was a runner. I was just like you said,
That's
I used to
awesome.
go to the gym Monday through Friday and I used
Yeah.
to get on the treadmill for maybe like 10, 20 minutes and whatever I ran in 10, 20 minutes was it. That was all
Yeah.
I did. And the only reason why I would do it is for cardio, just to get the heart going, like pumping. And then
Right.
I had that adrenaline already from running. I would go do my workout. Perfect. I got a really good workout, right? But I
Hmm.
never thought of, doing that and converting that into a race.
Hmm.
And I think I was on the ignorant part out that I'm saying is because when I finished my race, I got a medal and I'm like, we all get medals? What? Like you
What is this?
yeah, like what the hell? I thought first, second, and third place got a medal. I thought I was gonna get like a pat in the back or something. Hey, you didn't die halfway or something. But when I got that first
That's
medal,
amazing.
I would carry it everywhere. I
Oh, I
literally would
love it.
carry it in my backpack. And the moment somebody said, "Hey, Rob, how'd your race go?" Here I go, take out my medal. Here it is. So to me, it was the most amazing thing ever. Like it was the best feeling. It was just the accomplishment,
Hmm.
looking at your medal and saying, man, like I ran this race. So for me,
Hmm.
the 5K, even though I did not do as good as I wanted, just getting that piece of hardware
Hmm.
was the most like the best feeling ever. And it that, started a just landslide of races that I would do.
Hmm.
My fiance had more medals than me, obviously, because she had been running longer, and I think now I have more medals than her.
Wow.
And she even says it like when introduced herself, like introduces me to a friend or somebody that I don't know. She said this guy was not a runner. Now he runs more than me. So I totally get the addiction. Everybody has their own addiction to running. But the crazy thing, I remember meeting you like what last year. I think it was last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
You told me about that little piece of paper. I just didn't realize that you did it right after your first race. That's awesome.
Right after. I made Boston my goal before I had ever attempted to run a half marathon.
Yeah.
nothing. But I've always been really driven.
Hmm.
So like big goals don't scare me. And I'm really good at putting in the work and being okay with it being tedious and, being patient. So yeah, that's so needless to say, the sticky is still there.
Oh wow. And are you going to take it off now that you qualified, or is that just going to stay there for a little bit longer?
I don't know. I might leave it. I might leave it just to be able to see like the process of things. The
Hmm.
date is on there, and
Hmm.
I think it's something important to remember that um, there is a process to things,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I went into my first marathon thinking like I'm about to crush this. I'm about to BQ,
Yeah.
and that was not the outcome. So I think I might leave the sticky just to kind of see, let it be a piece of my journey. Remembering a piece of my journey. So
And we definitely want to know about that first marathon. But before we get to that, I have
okay,
a suggestion. Okay, I just
okay,
hear me out. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but
okay,
leave that stick like that piece sticky there. But now,
okay.
what you should do, or an option, just thinking out loud,
Hmm.
add another one with your next goal,
I
because
love
you're
that.
you're you're more hopefully you don't get hurt, nothing happens between now and
Sure.
April, which I don't want to jinx it. um you're obviously going to finish that goal and you're going to crush that goal over there in Boston. I'm pretty sure. But after that, after April, add another sticky with maybe another goal, maybe another race, maybe another
That's a great
major,
idea.
major marathon. Maybe, I don't know
Hmm.
if is this the only major marathon you've done, or
So I'm actually doing Chicago in October.
awesome,
So
awesome.
that'll be my first major. And you are right. I have a goal of running all six world majors. So that would be fantastic to write on a sticky and put it on
Yes,
there.
yes, yes. And I'm chugging along with that. I will be running Berlin this year.
Ah,
Um,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And that would be my third, because I've done Chicago, I've done
Okay.
New York twice,
Oh,
and then Berlin. New York is the best. I'm gonna tell you right now,
okay.
it's a little it's hard
That's
because
hard.
those bridges
Mm,
are man, they're hard, but
they're a beast.
they're a beast, yes, especially that Queens Bridge. Like, it's the only parts of the marathon that you don't have any crowd support are the bridges. So
Okay.
all you listen to, I don't know if I think you listen to music, so you might be okay. But
Mm,
I don't. So all I would do, I would
okay.
listen is people's breaths, like just struggling to, get up those bridges. But
Hmm.
it's the crowd support is like no other.
Okay.
I've never done Boston, so I can't really compare to Boston. You will be able to compare it in April, but man, it's from start to finish. Every borough you pass by, it's full of people.
I
Like,
love that.
it's so much, and I've said in other podcasts, it's so much people are on the sides that on some parts of the streets, even though they have barricades, the people actually come into the course, and you're literally running
Wow.
in maybe like 6 feet of space, for all the runners to run, where
Wow.
people are just right there cheering you on, and it's the best feeling.
Ah, I'm
It's
excited.
I probably cried like 4 or 5 times while I was running, because it's such a great feeling. People, like, if you write your name real big,
Hmm.
they will call you out like, "Hey, good job, Julie, good job." It's amazing.
Hmm.
So I think you should definitely put that one in your list. And you have to,
It's
because
going
if you
on
want
the
to do the
list.
six. So yeah. But
Yes.
yeah, I know I'm going on a tangent here. Sorry.
You're
Um,
good. You're
tell,
good.
tell us about your that first marathon, the one that you said you're gonna crush it. How did it humble you down? Tell me.
Oh, marathons are so humbling.
Yes, they are.
So Chevron Houston,
Hmm.
2022.
Hmm.
I went into that marathon really just I was believing like this is it.
Hmm.
My qualifying standard time was a 3:30.
Okay.
And I remember crossing the finish line with such mixed emotions. So I finished that one in a 3:35.
Oh.
And so I was about 5 minutes off. So, I had emotions of, wow, holy crap, I just ran my first marathon. That was incredible.
Hmm.
And you talk about the crowd support in New York, Houston,
Hmm.
they would also call out your name on your bib. And I
Yeah.
remember people calling out my name, that I like, complete strangers that I
Hmm.
had never met, and they're cheering for me. And that was incredible.
Yeah.
I also remember just being transparent. After I crossed the finish line, a few minutes later, thinking, "Oh my goodness, like I didn't meet my goal." And kind of processing that. It took me a few days to
Yeah.
process that. Um, I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, if I
Yeah.
have a goal, I'm going to work really hard to get to that goal. And so it's been, that part has been a journey too. Just giving myself grace
Hmm.
and learning that it is a process, that, there are some people, I'm sure, that run their first marathon and they
Oh
get
yeah.
their goal and they get their qualifying time, but
Yeah.
that was not me. Um, so I had to keep working at it.
No, and you're right. I had to learn that too. I had to learn to
Mhm.
give myself grace. Um, I remember me doing New York for the first time, and I finished it in 4 hours and 30 minutes. And I was
Okay.
super happy because Chicago, which was my very, very first marathon,
Oh, wow.
I finished it in like 5 hours and 30 minutes because I
Okay.
cramped out like by mile 11, I was cramping really bad. So
Mm-hmm.
very, very early in the race, I was, struggling to keep
Mm-hmm.
even a semi decent pace. And so when I did New York for the second time, I went into that race fully trained, like the best training that I've ever had. I felt great, you know, and the weather was not cooperative. Believe it or not, New York in November was that year it was 75 degrees.
Oh my
When New
goodness.
York in November is like 30s, mid
Wow.
30s, or like high
Mm-hmm.
40s, but cold, so it was hot
Mm-hmm.
and humid. And I
That's
finished it
crazy.
like in 5 hours. And I was so mad. I was so mad with myself because everything went well, and I'm pretty sure you can relate to this. Like your
Mm-hmm.
training goes so well. You hit your mileage every week. Your long
Mm-hmm.
runs feel like it's a walk in the park.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just feels great. And
Yeah.
race day comes and you just don't get the weather that you expect, and I struggled to finish, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember I went solo that time. My fiance was not able to come with me, so it was the worst. Like I was by myself. I was so pissed. Like I was
Yeah.
like mad at myself, and even my fiance was like, "You finished. Remember, that's always the goal,
Mm-hmm.
regardless." And I didn't want to hear it. And it took
Yeah.
me, if it took you 2 days, it took me like a month, 2 months, to where I even told my fiance, I don't think I'd even want to run anymore. Like I'm so disappointed. Like why I took 18 weeks out of my life to where I became a hermit. I became like the most boringest person you can ever meet because I would not go to parties. I would not to go to get-togethers. I wouldn't even go to
Yeah.
like run groups. Like I
Mhm.
literally just trained my butt off, and
Yeah.
I finally, someone told me, he's like, I heard that was a hard race for everybody, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, there was 50,000 runners and 5,000 did not even finish.
Wow.
That's a big number of people that did
That is
not
a
finish.
lot.
I was like,
Mm-hmm.
did you finish? I was like, yeah, I did, of course. And it was a horrible time. And
Mm.
he's like, well, you finished, man. You finished. You were one of those people that finished. Imagine that person that got
Perspective.
sick or something like that in the race and hell, they
Hmm.
probably took him to the hospital because something was wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And that really changed my perspective. That really changed my way of thinking that, you know, yes, you
Hmm.
need to give yourself grace. You need to give yourself, you know, there's still the kudos, you know, that you
Absolutely.
accomplished something that like a lot of people say 1% of the
Mhm.
world does this, you know,
Yeah.
and it's
I
crazy.
call,
Go ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I call those moments
Hmm.
sandpaper moments
Okay.
because I feel like you have two choices. Like you're so
Hmm.
pissed because, like you said, you poured your life into training for this.
Hmm.
So you have two options really, and it's like option A is to kind of like, I'm pissed, I'm giving up, I'm done with running. And then there's option B to allow those moments to be like sandpaper and they kind of rub you, the wrong way at first, but
Yeah.
then clearly you're still a runner, then we pick ourselves back up
Yeah.
and we eventually we're stronger for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
it's good.
you're absolutely right. I got out of that rut and realized, you know, it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes things
Hmm.
don't work out. Like I want to qualify for Boston. I remember talking to you about it, and ever
Hmm.
since I realized, you know, I'm probably not going to be able to make it through the qualifying time because I'm not fast. I'm not as fast as I should be, maybe, or I could be, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
Yeah,
that because there's other options. But the
absolutely.
goal's still Boston. I'm still gonna
Hmm.
make it one way or another, even if I have to like do it when I'm 60 years old. You know, it's okay. It's okay. It's still gonna happen. You know, but
That's right.
I think us as runners, we definitely, like you said, we do hold ourselves to a higher standard. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's crazy, but 3:35 is still amazing.
It, yes, I agree. For my first marathon, that was looking back, I and from where I am now, I'm like, wow, Julie, that was your first
You're
time to
first.
run 26.2
Yeah.
miles. And now I look back and I give that version of me so much grace. Um, but yeah, I really I never stopped marathon training after that. So it was an ongoing thing. I would take
Hmm.
2 weeks off after, each
Hmm.
marathon.
Yeah.
But just kept going for the goal.
Yeah. But you know, it's if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
2022, it was a hot marathon.
It was,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It
I
was. It
ran
was
that
warm.
one. I ran that one with
Hmm.
my fiance, and
Okay.
man, it was yeah, it was definitely very hot. So
Yeah.
for you to finish it at 3:35 with the conditions that we had that day, yeah, it's kudos to you. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
That's
Thank you.
wow. That's crazy to think about. Again, first marathon, you know,
Hmm.
3:35. And thinking now about that first marathon, what were the pros and the cons that you got from that marathon? What did you learn from it? What
Ooh.
did you do good? Because we always do something good, obviously. You know, we finished. Obviously, that's one,
Finished.
you
Yeah.
know. But what did you take away from that marathon that helped you in your process of Boston qualifying?
Okay, so I learned so many big, big lessons from that marathon. First of all, I was not strength training.
Okay.
So that was a big void in my training.
Hmm.
I maybe every now and then I would lift weights, whatnot, but it was not a consistent part of
Hmm.
my training schedule.
Hmm.
So I very quickly found out that you cannot just run,
Yeah.
to train for a fast marathon, you cannot just run. You have to build the strength in. So
Yeah.
I definitely took that away from that marathon. And I started incorporating strength trainings like 2 times a week, and then now I do like 2 to 3 times a week. Um, and then nutrition was a big thing too.
Yeah.
I did not fuel enough in that marathon.
Okay.
So I remember I did a probably four or five gels.
Okay.
And even going into the marathon, I had an idea of when I wanted to take them,
Mhm.
but I think after it was around like mile 16, 17, I just kind of zoned out and I just stopped taking my gels. Don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Really having a nutrition plan and
What's up,
practicing
guys?
that plan
Episode 7 is
before
out.
marathon
Our
day,
guest is
um, it that was a huge lesson learned too. So I started incorporating my gels into my long runs and practicing, even practicing taking them out of your flip belt or however you're
yeah,
going to carry them.
yeah,
Um, so that was the second big thing.
yeah.
I would say I took away from it.
And it's funny that you say that practicing because when I start doing my long runs for marathons, strictly when I'm already training for a marathon, I
Hmm.
will wear the clothes, basically the clothes that I'm gonna wear for what I'm planning to wear for the marathon. Maybe
Yes.
the shirt might change just because maybe I something came that I liked later on, but
Hmm.
the shorts, uh, the belt that I wear to put my stuff, everything, even the nutrition, like the gels, it has to be the same gel. If it's let's say it's a chocolate flavored gel, right? I will make sure that that's what I'll train with if my stomach
Absolutely.
likes it, and the brand won't change, nothing changes, I
Nothing
I
new on race day.
Yes, yes, because I've learned my lesson on that too. But
Oh,
it,
okay.
I bought a pair of shoes once at a expo for a marathon, and I
Okay.
said, you know what? Let's wear these shoes on a marathon day. Oh my God, worst thing. I love the shoes. They now have become my marathon shoe, but it's
Okay.
not the right day to try them out. So definitely those are some stuff that I also learned.
Hmm.
My biggest takeaway as well from my marathon when my first and second, because I didn't incorporate that, was strength training for sure,
Strength training.
for sure.
It's a big one.
Yes,
Hmm.
it's so big. It's so big. Now that I do it like twice or three times a week too. I also
Hmm.
incorporated yoga. Oh my God,
Oh,
yoga
yes.
is
Love yoga.
and I still I'm still not as flimsy, I guess, to be able to do a lot of the poses, but I do the best that I can.
Yeah.
But even with me being so stiff of a person that I am, I see the
Mhm.
difference. I see the difference
Yes.
in the part that I think the last time I got hurt was like maybe 2 years ago, and knocking on some
Nice.
wood or something because I don't, yeah. But it's been a while, and before I would
That's
feel
great.
that I would get hurt very often,
Hmm.
and it was reason number one I would get hurt because I didn't stretch, or because you know and basically the stretching was the biggest thing. And
Hmm.
now with yoga, like it's already like religious thing that I do after my long run, regardless if I have 10 miles for that day or 16 like I'm gonna have this Saturday. I will go
Nice.
straight to a place called Hotworks, and they have like a stretch class, and
Oh,
I
I
do
love
that
that.
45-minute class, and I do it
Hmm.
as best as I can depending on how my legs feel, obviously from the run. But man,
Hmm.
the next day obviously it's still I'm a little sore. That's gonna happen,
Hmm.
but I can walk. I'm okay. Like it's a normal like soreness, like just when you go to the gym and you get
Yeah.
a little sore from your workout. Nothing major. But I feel
Hmm.
great. Like I'm ready for coming Monday, to start
Yeah.
my new run week.
Hmm.
And that's something, man, when I would run from 16 to 20 miles, I would probably miss a couple days of my running the next week because I was still sore. I was still feeling really bad,
Yeah.
you know? And yoga and stretching and strength and conditioning has helped me do that,
Yeah.
recover faster. So
That's awesome. Yes, I was going to say yoga helps so much in recovering faster.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure. And
I have
and
found that too, for sure.
and are you still a spin instructor, by the way?
I am, yes.
Awesome. So how do you fit your weekly training with, because I work from home, so I literally sit in a computer and don't do a lot of physical activities. But you do. You're spinning. You're teaching a class. Like, how do you incorporate that, which is your job, right? Which is already
Yes.
a physical thing, to going to the gym, for example, to work out and running and hitting all those running miles that you do.
So it takes a lot of planning. I have to be very strategic about my days.
Mhm.
Because I have littles too. And so right now I only teach 3 classes a week. So I
Okay.
teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays.
Hmm.
And so I have a run coach right now, and she has kind of laid out my run schedule to kind of work around those days.
Hmm.
Um, and I still run after I teach spin. That's typically what I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I teach spin at 5:15.
Okay.
So 5:15 in the morning I teach, and then I will just switch my spin shoes out for my run shoes and hit the pavement. Um,
Awesome.
but yeah, so I do have to be really strategic in planning my days, and I usually do that like the Sunday before the next week. I
Hmm.
literally go through each day and I make sure I know, like, okay, this day I'm gonna spin, then I'm gonna run, and then maybe I'll do strength training if I can.
Hmm.
Um, yoga is something I really, really, really want to do better at, like doing that more often.
Hmm.
But I do incorporate that as much as I can too. So it's just planning, strategically planning.
And you mentioned you have a running coach. How long have you had a running coach?
So this is very new. I just got a run coach last month. So
Okay.
in June.
Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
what was the reason you got it? Because of Boston, or you just felt like it was time to kind of incorporate a coach?
I I had always told myself that once my marathon goal time became something that was lower than like a 3:20,
Hmm.
and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but we're all there. So I had always told myself, once my goal became something sub 3:20,
Hmm.
that I would incorporate a coach and just see how it went.
Okay.
Um, so I've typically before that, I just used Run Coach, the app,
Okay.
and I would just follow those training plans, and it worked really well for me. But my goal for Chicago is to land somewhere between like a 3:10 and a 3:15, and so I just wanted to see what that would how having a running coach would
Yeah.
help.
And I know you said you've only had it for a month, but do you see already a difference between, yourself coaching in a way? I know you said you had an app that did it, but in a way you're still kind of coaching yourself.
Hmm.
Between that way and now the version that you have with your running coach, do you see a big difference? And again, I know it's been a month, but do you see
Yeah.
a little bit of a difference?
There has been a difference. So she has really honed in on heart rate training,
Hmm.
which I have never done before.
Yeah.
I will say it's very tedious and you have to be very patient.
Yes.
Beforehand, I won't say that I was running my easy runs hard, but there was definitely some in between, like just I was running them too fast,
Yeah.
my easy runs. And I would get out there and I felt good, or I wanted to hit a certain pace that day and I would just go for it. And she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, no, no, no. We're not going to do that. You're going to actually switch from looking at your pace to not looking at your pace at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to look at the heart rate. You're going to
Yeah.
watch your heart rate. And anytime it goes above a 140, you're going to slow your ass down. So
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this should be easy. No, it's
No.
not. It's not
No, it's
easy.
not.
It is not easy. So trusting that
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of allowing that to be, it's very new to me.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing that to make me a better runner has been kind of it's been a mental, block, but I'm
Yeah.
getting better.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's honed in on the heart rate training. And then her workouts. Oh my goodness, her
Mm.
workouts. So I typically do 2 workouts a week right now.
Okay.
So I'll do one like Wednesday workout,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will do a workout in my long run. And her workouts are very challenging,
Yeah.
um, but not too challenging. So I have found that she has pushed my limits a little
Yeah.
bit, but not in a way that I felt, terrible after. So it's been good. It's been good.
It's funny that you say about the heart rate training because um uh my running coach, I've had him for I think about 4 or 5 months already. I switched
Oh,
coaches,
wow. Okay.
and he told me about my heart
Mhm.
rate. And so my easy runs are usually on Mondays and Thursdays.
Okay.
And when I go check, for the what am I supposed to do those days, it says right there, keep it under, X amount, And
Hmm.
so the first time I did it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, concentrate on keeping that heart rate down. And then I started looking, I was like, man, I'm running like about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes slower than what before. Like, how is
Hmm.
this gonna make
Yeah.
me better? And so I asked my coach, I was like, man, you're making me, I feel like I'm jogging at times, like it's not even a run. Like, I don't feel like I'm working out.
Like a
He's like,
shuffle.
yeah, exactly. And he told me, just trust the process. You're
Hmm.
not supposed to run fast all the time. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe that's what you were used to, but
Hmm.
um to be able to stay in a healthy place and to enjoy the process as well, you have to
Hmm.
do that,
Yeah.
because you can't run fast every day. It's just
Hmm.
it's just not going to work out for your legs. Your legs are going to give out, or
Hmm.
that, or you're going to give out, one or the other, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm still struggling. I'm not going to lie. I still struggle.
Me too, Rob.
It's such a hard thing to do because you're so wired one way, and
Hmm.
then they change it on you.
Exactly.
But I will tell you, I do see the benefit now, because as much as it's a struggle when I look at my heart rate, like when
Hmm.
I'm so I love looking at my workouts, like on
Hmm.
Sunday I'll look like what I did. It's kind of like kind of like a debriefer, I'm debriefing,
Yeah.
and so I look at it, and I look at my heart rates, and I'm like, man, like I can tell it's doing good. And then on
Hmm.
my Tuesday runs is when I do track workouts usually,
Okay.
and that's where I really do see that
Yeah.
heart rate training pay off, because
Hmm.
he makes me run sometimes about usually it's about a minute faster than my 5K. It's
Nice.
usually it's the fastest one. I don't know if it's like that for you, but your fastest
Yeah.
pace is usually will be the 5K. And so I look at it, and then I look at my heart rate, and it's right around where it should be. And
Hmm.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, I
Yeah.
just look at it and I'm like, man, no wonder I'm giving this guy the big bucks, man, because he
Right.
knows what he's doing. But it's crazy to mention that, because it's to me it was an eye-opening experience. And the biggest eye-opening
Hmm.
experience for me is that when I kind of interviewed him with him, I guess he interviewed
Yeah.
me to see if he would
Yeah.
pick me up.
Hmm.
um he asked me about, well, what do you do? Do you run? What else do you do other than running? Like, what else did your coach have you? I was like, that's all he had. I ran 6 times a week, you know, and strength training, no, no, not really. and it's like that's what we're gonna change. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I run less now. I run 4 times a week with
Okay.
2 strength training and then 1 complete day off. And
Nice.
my coach is pretty cool because I feel I feel like I'm not doing something wrong, right? Because on Sundays is my day off,
Uh-huh.
from anything, and I still like go to Hot Works, do a little yoga session
Mhm.
or do something, and then my coach is like, you're not supposed to be doing that, you know, but I feel bad, like I feel wrong not doing, some sort of a workout activity, even if it's
Mhm.
just walking my dog or something like that, but
Mhm.
it is an eye-opening experience to have a coach, because I don't think I would be hitting my times that I have if it wasn't for my coach. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, my marathon time would have been like 6 hours if I didn't have a
Mhm.
coach,
Yeah.
because I think, like I always tell everybody, it's such a different beast doing a marathon. Like half
Oh my
marathons, I
goodness.
can do
Yes.
them. I didn't even have to train very hard, to run a marathon, not to run it fast at least, but to run it.
Yeah,
But man, like you said, it's a humbling experience to do a marathon.
it sure
You know,
is.
it
Hmm.
really is. But let me ask you something, Julie, because
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to take too much of your time. Um, Tell us about your final, when you hit your marathon, your Boston qualifying time, sorry. Where was
Yeah.
it and how did you feel about once you hit that time?
Okay. So I I ran after Chevron 2022.
Hmm.
I ran Erie, Pennsylvania, did not qualify for that one, in that one. And then I ran Chevron again, didn't qualify for in that one. And then finally I went with my best friend
Hmm.
to Wisconsin, and we ran the Eau Claire Marathon.
Uh-huh.
And that is where I finally got my BQ.
Hmm.
I had my finishing time was 3:26,
Wow.
and I just remember that morning. It was actually a snowy start, like it was snowing,
Wow.
and we got to the start, and like we literally just kind of we got to the start, took our rain stuff off, and bam, like the race started, and
Yeah.
it just everything kind of locked in. My nutrition locked in, and it was it was so good. It was really, really good. And I remember thinking in the race, like around mile 17, I could feel my body was not tired. I wasn't hitting the wall.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had a really good push. And so I did. I went for it around mile 18. I started to speed things up a little bit, which was actually not the plan. Um, I was supposed to wait till mile 20. um, but I was feeling so good, and just
Yeah.
everything locked in, and I felt really strong. So I went for it and ended up finishing with a 3:26, and felt I cried. I felt so proud, and all the emotions. I called my husband as
Yeah.
soon as I crossed the finish line, and I was like, "Babe, I did it."
Oh
Um,
man.
it was the most incredible feeling. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
Mhm.
I remember I was looking at your post and I was looking at the pictures. Hilarious. That picture where you're covering even the shoes with
Yeah.
bags. It
Yes. Yep. We
but
literally walked to the start with grocery bags on our shoes because we were trying to keep our shoes
yeah.
from getting wet,
Yeah. Yeah.
too soon. But yeah,
Hmm.
we woke up that morning, and when we saw that it was snowing, I was like, okay, well, this is a first. I've never ran a marathon in the snow. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, it was really good.
So was the snowy conditions through the whole thing, or it was just the start and it kind of got better as far as the weather?
Yes. Yeah, it just got better.
Oh
It
wow.
snowed probably the first 10K or so. And then the sun kind of came out. But it was cool. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really great conditions. And those are always variables too. Like you can't control the weather. You can't
Yeah.
control how your stomach's going to react to,
Mm-hmm.
your gels. All of those variables are something to take into consideration. And
Yeah.
sometimes things line up and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
this one, they did. They did for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing to hear, the I can tell the joy just by your big smile talking about it. It's so awesome, and I love hearing that. I love seeing that you hit that ultimate goal that you had, and
Mhm.
I still can't, it's still crazy to think about finishing a 5K and putting such a big goal like that.
Mhm.
It's crazy. I think about my running journey. I ran a 5K, I ran a 10K, and then I would never go past like 6, 7 miles. And then
Mhm.
Beyonce and I decide, let's go run a half marathon in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
And
cool.
I never thought I could even run 13 miles to begin with.
Yeah.
And my goal was at the starting point was not even doing that, just running. But it brings me joy to hear that you were able to fulfill your goal, and
Yeah.
such a lofty goal. So it's awesome, and it's awesome to hear that. But Julie,
Thank you.
what really, after all this time you've been doing running, and you finally hit your goal, what do you feel that running has brought to you now that you didn't have probably before, when you weren't running avidly as you are now?
Yeah. So running really, it is it's my time away from, being a mom and like away from the kids. I'll go run and it has given me a safe space to think, and just it has I don't know, it's really brought me so much joy, um, just to work hard at things, and also just to be able to get up in the mornings and move in that way. It's a gift,
Yeah.
so I am so thankful that I can do that.
And thankful to that best friend that got you to that 5K. That definitely,
And I
definitely,
actually
definitely.
ran that marathon that I qualified. My first qualification was with her,
Okay.
and so it's been she's kind of gone along the journey with me. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
yeah.
and did she pace you for that race, or she ran her own race?
She didn't pace me, but she did run maybe a mile ahead of me.
Okay.
I ran with a pace group.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, when I felt like around mile 17, 18, when I felt a
Mm-hmm.
really, a bit like I felt good, I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
could push, that's when I took off from the pace group and like kind of met up with her.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when we finished together. So like the last 10K or so, we were really just like stride for stride.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, I remember her turning around to me. We were like 2 miles out from the finish line, and she was like, "Are you ready to be cute today?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I just remember crying, like we hadn't even crossed the finish line yet,
Yeah.
but I knew that it was going to happen in
Yeah.
that moment. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, today is the day.
Yeah.
Today is the day that I finally qualify." So
That's
it was
awesome.
really cool.
That's awesome. That's a feel good story for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. And at this point, Julie, I do want to take some time here because we do have a question from our episode 12 guests,
Okay.
and we'll let our guests ask you the question, and then when we come back, you'll have your time to answer, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's let our guests ask the question.
Okay.
If you were to run any race in the world, where would it be and who would it be with?
Okay, so if I could run any race, clearly Boston has been the goal. It's not the end goal, but it has been a huge, huge puzzle piece. So in my journey, so Boston would 100% be the dream race. And I would definitely want to run it with my best friend, Melissa, because she has just been along the journey, the whole journey with me, and has been a huge supporter and encouragement to me. So hopefully that dream race will happen in April 2025, and I'll get to run that race with her.
That's awesome. And imagine that you run this race and then you qualify for Boston again. That
That would
that
be
would
amazing.
that would be like the icing on top, like
That
what
would. It
that
would.
and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of runners that do that, but I just can't, like, the best feeling. That has to be even a better feeling than when you qualify for the first time, to
Oh yeah.
actually qualify for Boston on the day that you're running Boston. So
That would be
yes,
amazing.
unless something major happens and they cancel the race, which I hope not, please no. You're gonna run it. You're gonna do great.
Yeah.
And kudos to your friend Melissa for getting you
Mhm.
into running, because then we wouldn't be here. So we
That's
definitely
right.
thank you, and Melissa. If you watch this episode, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. And just a couple of things before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
Just advice. If you could give yourself advice from what you know now to that very, very first race that you did, what would be the one biggest advice you would give yourself back when you started that you know now?
Hmm. So, I would say this is something that I still stand by today. The day that you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. And that's what I would remind myself of, back in 2022 when I went into that marathon thinking, this is the day, this is the moment. Um, I would remind myself that, there is a process,
Mm-hmm.
and to find joy in that process, because really it truly is a gift to be able to put demand on our potential,
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's awesome. That's awesome. And
mhm,
and and I couldn't have put it any better. I wish I had that advice when I started too, because
mhm,
um I want results now,
mhm,
and that's what really sometimes I feel like most people they put lofty goals or a goal in general, and they don't
yeah,
get um the response that they were looking for. Sometimes they get discouraged without thinking that you have to go through the process. So yes,
yeah.
I love that, and I'm gonna use that one too now. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome. And
Thank
and
you.
just again, before we let you go, tradition for the next guest. So this would be for episode 14. What would be the question that you have for episode 14?
Okay, so my question would be, what is one of the greatest life lessons that you've learned through running?
Great, great, great question. And tradition, you got to answer your own question.
Okay. Um, so I would definitely have to circle back to what I just said. Honestly, I
Yeah,
mean, just learning that, um, you know, it takes time. You have to plow the ground.
yeah.
You have to
Mm-hmm.
plow the ground, plant the seed, and then you got to water it.
Yeah.
So, when you make goals of any kind, whether it's running or it has nothing to do with running,
Mm-hmm.
to be patient and consistent,
Mm-hmm.
and trust that the process will bring about what you're wanting.
Perfect, perfect. And I couldn't have put it any better. I usually will answer the question, but you answered it for both. You've answered it for both, because
Great.
patience for me has always been the hardest thing to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I've learned that uh to go from A to Z, you got to go through the whole alphabet sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you got to start all over and do it all
Start
over
back.
again, you
Uh-huh.
know. So
Yep.
it's definitely crazy that you learn patience from running. I never thought I
Yeah.
was gonna learn it from running and it's amazing. But Julie, we're
Absolutely.
basically done here. At
Okay.
this point, we would like for you to take some time and just tell the people where they can find you, what social media you use, and where they can find you, basically.
Okay. So I am on Instagram.
Hmm.
It's my handle is Julie_Pennington.
Okay.
Um, and that's really where you can find everything because I don't have separate accounts. I've always kind of been the person that like I'm a runner and I'm a mom and I'm a wife. So here's everything in,
The
in
whole
one
package in
account.
one.
So
No,
that's where you
perfect.
can find me. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. And I know you already said that you're running Boston, but that's till April, and I'm pretty sure there's more races in between. Is there any other races that you're going to be doing? Let us know.
Yes. So up next is the Chicago Marathon,
Mhm.
October 13th. So I'm very excited about that one.
Yeah.
And I actually have a couple of friends that I'm running it with too.
Hmm.
So, and from what you've said about Chicago, I'm excited. I'm excited to
Oh,
run
you're gonna have fun. As long as the
it.
weather cooperates, I think you're gonna do
Hope so.
amazing. And well, and you're probably gonna Boston qualify again if you hit those goals.
I
So
hope so.
there
I
you
hope
go.
so.
There you go. And as I told my good friend Mimi from episode 1, please eat a lot of Chicago deep dish pizza for me because I absolutely love it. It's
Deal.
best pizza, best pizza. Sorry, New York. Good pizza. New York has some amazing pizza, but deep
Hmm.
dish pizza from Chicago, by far the best, the best.
Deal. I will eat some Chicago pizza.
Awesome, awesome. But Julie, again, thank you very much for your time. It's
Thank you,
been a
Rob.
pleasure having you. And again, congratulations for Boston. Hopefully
Thank
you do
you.
even better in Chicago. And we'll keep an eye on your Boston run. And hopefully, you never know, maybe you qualify again there too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah, no problem. You have yourself a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.